Welcome to the Garage Engineer. Today in the shop we're going to try to get this generator running. Last week I was out at a few garage sales and estate sales, and in one of those estate sales was a lake house, and I found this generator. When I first saw it, it did have compression and it looked pretty good. It looked like it hadn't been used very much. I asked the homeowners what they'd used it for, and they just took the generator and a corded vacuum down to their dock to vacuum their boat out. The generator is a Stormcat 63 cc's gasoline engine. It is a 2-cycle. This is the first 2-cycle generator that I've worked on. Typically I do more of the 4-cycle generator, so this is going to be kind of interesting. It does have a 50-to-1 mix for 2-stroke oil, and all the parts look like they're there. There's a sticker here that has the emission control, and it is from December of 2012, so this is almost 9 years old, and it looks like it was used very little. It even has the blue protective plastic on top of the chrome gas cap, so they didn't use it very much. There's a little gas inside here. Let's see what we've got in the way of gas, of how old it is, and the lid's kind of crusty. That could be cleaned up. You got some rust on the top here, and I guess this fell off the cap. Not really. Oh, it's a measuring cup. That's kind of cool. I don't know if you can read it. It has the different ounces on here. So when you're mixing your 2-cycle, it's you got two ounces here. So I guess you'd mix your 2-cycle oil all the way up to the top of the cap and then just dump it in. I don't know if that is supposed to be connected to the lid somehow. Maybe just kind of friction fit on there, but that's pretty neat. It does have, yeah, let me clean some of this rust off real quick. Yeah, the lake house was really nice. The lady who owned it was moving in with the children, and the brother and sister were getting everything cleared out to sell the house. And they really didn't have much more, but it was one of those estate sales that I like because they're just trying to get rid of it. They're trying to get rid of just everything to make so they don't have to move it. But there wasn't many items that I was interested in. Get some of this rust here. Alright. See if I can get this thing out. Now it's pretty fresh, so I don't know. He said the last time they used it was a couple months ago, but that's what they all say, so I'm not really sure. Maybe we'll get lucky and it won't be that difficult. Knock on wood. Alright, so there's some fuel in there. We might add some in a little bit. Let's put that up in there. Let's clean the cap while we got it off. It's weird how rusty. There's a lot of rust on here. Alright. So we don't need to check for oil since this is 2-cycle. We just know that there's oil in there. This is what the spark plug looks like. I think this is the longest spark plug I've seen. That's not too bad. Gap looks alright. Looks like typical usage. See if we can see anything down the spark plug hole there. Not too bad. I don't see really anything major to be concerned about. I guess all we really have left to do is let's take it outside and see if we can crank it up. I was setting up to shoot, and you see our little friends over there? Let's see if we can get closer. Let's see our little chicken friends. Those aren't ours. Those are the neighbors. There you go. but they found the bird seed. So whatever the squirrels knocked onto the ground is now their chicken feed. They haven't allowed me to approach them yet, but let's see what we can do. They get agitated. Hey, Mr. Rooster. Oh, there they go. Yeah, they're not very friendly. You don't want to come talk? Yeah, Mr. Rooster likes to crow in the mornings a lot. Oh, there they go. And I did find where they're nesting in our yard. They made 2 holes. I didn't know what they were. I thought they were kids just digging holes in our backyard, but it ended up being they made their little nesting spot in our yard. Maybe we'll catch them over there when they go back to take a nap. Alright, let's get back to the generator. Alright, so let's see. We turn it on. We got the choke on. And the fuel switch is over. Let's see, where's this fuel switch? Right here. Fuel is on. Let's give it a try and see what we got. Alright, we're back in the shop, so let's go through the procedure now. Let's check for spark. I thought we would get lucky and it would start, but we weren't, so that's fine. We need to check the spark plug, see if it's getting fuel. It's dry. I don't even think it's getting fuel. But let's check for spark anyway, and then we'll go to the carb. We'll get it on this bolt here. Okay, so right there's the gap, spark plug gap. And let's take a look here. You hear it? Yep, we're getting good spark. You can even hear it, so that's not the issue. I don't think there's fuel getting there, so that means we're going to the carb next. Before we start getting to the carb, let's dribble a little bit of fuel down in there just to make sure that it does jump off here. So let's take the spark plug back out real quick. So I got a little bit of 2-cycle fuel mix. We can dribble a little bit, some down in the hole. That should do it. Alright, start it off here. Turn it on first, there you go. There you go. Okay, so it does work. There's just something with the carb. I bet you the carb's just dirty, so let's get the cover off and get into it and kind of see what's going on. Make sure we got fuel flow too. This is an interesting intake setup. So I guess the air goes through these 2 holes, and there's this box here. So the air enters here, flows through the foam, and then goes to the carb on this side because there's no holes on the carb side. So all the air has to flow through here. So it's interesting how that setup is. So I guess we need to take these bolts off to get this front cover. And then we can get closer to the carb and see what's going on. So we know we got the switch holding this plate on. The black wire is sitting on top of the brown one, so I don't know if we can get in there and pull it off. That should be enough. We'll leave it on. We'll just be careful of the wires here. I guess first let's see if we got fuel flowing through and make sure this is working. I got my hose pliers here. Maybe I'll make it a little easier to get it off. Get the supply line off. There you go. There's fuel coming out. I'm going to turn it on. Let's see if we get any flow. Turn on the shutoff valve. Yeah, we gotta get pretty good flow. Good cut off. Dripping a little bit. So I don't think that's the issue. Alright. Just got the linkage we've got to remove. And then we can slide this thing off here. Yep. Alright, so let's see if we can get this linkage off. I don't know if you can see it. Way deep down in there. Right down in there. Back in there. So I'm having trouble getting to the linkage on the carb. So to make more room, I think we'll take the gas tank off, and so we can get to this plastic cover and get that off and get to the wires easier to remove that. Actually, can we swing it up? There you go. Just swing it up. Oh, I'll break the... How about that? We'll do that. That'll give us a lot more room to get into the carb right here. So the issue I'm having, let's zoom in here a little bit. Let me move you on this side, you can see a little better. So the issue we're having right here is this linkage. There's no room. You pull the carb all the way, it doesn't come all the way off. If I get it off, then I can manipulate it to get the linkage out. So I think we're gonna have to remove these studs to easily get this taken off so we can get to the carb and get it cleaned. I don't know if there's a better way to do it, but that's the way we're gonna do it today. Okay, so I think the best way we can do this is to get the studs off, we unscrew them, and then that way we'll have more room to move the linkage. So we'll just take a pair of vice grips here, lock it down. There you go. Not the way I'd like to have done it, but there you go. It works. They should make it a little bit easier way to do it, but just have to adjust. Yeah, there you go. Really? Okay, you only have to take one out. And there you go. Let's don't lose this spring. That's kind of important. And we've got our carb. So let's get this taken apart and we'll see if there's any blockages. Okay, so now that we got the carb, let's get the bowl off them first and take a look and see what we got. see if it's dirty. It does smell like it has old fuel in it. Oh yeah. We can see how green that, it's been sitting for a while. So I don't know what they were, they said they used it, but it's been there for a while. It's all green. So let's just clean it up the best we can. Oh, no, there you go. Yeah, the needle's working. I'm going to take it out. Let's take the pin out here. The needle looks pretty good. Yeah, it's not too bad. Everything's just a little sludgy, but I think if we clean it up, it will be good as new. Let's get some cleaner and just clean everything out. So I'm going to put, to get this jet out, I've got to take the idle adjustment screw. So what we'll do is I'll mark it and then we'll count how many times we got to take it out. So mark it there. 6, 7, about 7 turns is what it took to get that out. So we'll put that together, make sure we don't lose the spring. Let's get this jet out here. I'm going to turn it in to see how many we got. It's in there tight, so I don't think there's an adjustment to it, just in and out. The bottom might be clogged there. We'll clean that out. And then we'll leave everything else in place. We'll clean those. And then we've got one more on the bowl, has an adjustment too. We'll get that out. Or it's a needle, I should say. Well, adjustment needle. And that was all the way in. There wasn't really, that's not a setting. So for cleaning car parts, I like to use this Behrman's Chem Dip. Just, it comes in a gallon container, and then you get a bucket, a little strainer to put all your stuff in. So we'll put the parts in now. So we've got our jet, our bowl, and the carb. But you got to remember to take your gasket off. You don't want to put this in there. And I think everything, oh, there was one more jet. That's where we need to take this jet. It's green. That's probably why it's all corroded in there, and that's probably the reason why there wasn't getting any fuel up inside there. So let me get the screwdriver and we'll get that off. Yeah, it's all green. They had fuel sitting in there for a while. Yeah, I think that jet is completely clogged. So that's why we weren't getting anything in there. And then here we'll stick the bottom of the carb down in there. And we'll let that sit for a little while and we'll come check it. Alright, let's see what we got. Oh, the bowl looks so much better. It needs a little bit, there's a little bit down at the bottom there. It's kind of black, but we get a Q-tip and just kind of clean it up. Get the Berryman's cleaner out, so that looks a lot better. We need to rinse all this at the sink. Here's the carb body. That looks good. And our little, now remember that jet that was completely green? It still looks clogged a little bit, but the outside is not green anymore. Yeah, we'll get a little wire and yeah, definitely the head is not green anymore, so that's good. The orifice inside looks a little jammed, but we'll get a little wire and we'll clean that out in just a second. Let's go rinse all this off and get it back to the bench. Now I've got everything pulled out of the carb cleaner, and we rinsed everything off, and everything's looking really well. Even the bowl had that little bit of black down way at the bottom there. I cleaned that up with a Q-tip and some carb cleaner, and that looks perfect. And what I like to do too, just to make sure that the holes on the jets are clean, I take a brush and take one of the wires, and we'll just stick it through here just to make sure it's clear. Now just be careful, don't jam anything in there, because this orifice is specifically made the correct diameter. They've got special kits that you can with different size diameters of wire, but I just use this. We're not perfect it's not rocket science, so get it put together, put together the best way we can with what we got. Here's another little jet there. This diameter is a little bigger, but still just be careful. We just want to make sure that it's open. Alright, so now what I want to do is, let's see here, just checking the seat. And the seat looks good. The needle moves freely. So let's go ahead and start putting this back together. So we'll get the jet on the inside first. Put that back on. And this was just screwed all the way in. There wasn't a certain setting. That's in. Then this one goes up top here. And we'll put the stop back on that goes above that jet. And it was 7 turns. So we'll see if we can get it pretty close. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wait, hold on, let's start again. The threads weren't in just right. Let's try that again. Alright, so let's say that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that was straight up. Alright. So that's back there. And now we'll just put the needle back on the float here. Slide it up and right through there. The needle fell off here. Hold on a second. I'm going to adjust you a little bit. Maybe you can see better. Okay, so we got the needle is in the seat. We'll put the pin back on. There you go. There you go. And then again, this is at an angle, but we want this just to be slightly down. Go parallel and then slightly up, which is down if you flip it over. But now let's test it to make sure it's... I'm going to blow into the tube here, and we're going to see if that seat cuts off the supply. And then I lift up the float to make sure that air flows out afterwards. Perfect. All right. Let's get this bowl back. Oh, don't forget the gasket here. Got the gasket back on. I like that it has its own little recess there. That's nice. Now let's see, if this is front, we want to put, I'm figuring out where to put, I think this is the drain plug right here, where you can drain your fuel out, so I want to make sure that it's going in a direction that we can reach it. And I think, yes, I think that will be good. Let me put the bolt nut on. And this is 10 millimeter. Doesn't have to be super tight, just snug it on. Okay, and then we'll put that drain plug back in here. And this was all the way down, so I tried to see if it had a setting. And it's just a drug. It looks like a needle, but I think it's just a drain plug. There you go. Alright, we're back together. Let's put her back on the machine, and I think we'll be getting ready to test it. Alright, so we're back at the generator. Put the carb on one of the studs, and then we've got to get this linkage attached like so. So we've learned how to remove this linkage, and there's a spring too, so let's get that spring connected in it while we're here. Perfect. There we go. And let's get the other stud and put it back on. Oh, before we do that, I don't know if you saw what I made a mistake on. Got to get the gasket to make sure the gasket's on in the back here. You see right here. So get the stud, run it through the gasket, and then put it together. And then we'll just take our vice grips and snug the stud back on there. You don't want to be too tight, just enough there. Alright. I think we got good clearance here. Great. So now while we're in here, I am going to hook up our wires. Now the black was... Now while we're in here, I'm going to go ahead and hook up the wires to the on-off switch. The black was on top, which is the bottom because we're flipped over. And then the brown was on the bottom. See that? Got the protective coverings on it. Make sure everything else is connected to our ballast. Where we tried to take it off before. Everything's connected there. Ground's on, good. Alright, so we're good on that. So when we flip it back down, it'll be ready. So let's go ahead, we'll get our gasket. So now we'll move back down here. We'll put our gasket on. Try not to rip it. Okay. We got our plate. And this is 10 millimeter also. All right. So now we just need to flip the cover back down, like so. You know what? I think we should have put the nuts. Let's see here. I think the nuts should have gone on the outside. Yep, I'm pretty sure. So let's get that fixed. Alright, so now we got the nuts and the plates off. We'll do this in the right order. First thing we need to do is put the tank back on so we can connect the gas line up to the carb, and then we can put the plastic front back in place. So let's get the tank first. We're just going to set the tank up here. We're not going to mount it or anything. We just want to get the hose here so we can connect it. This is where we had the issue of not being able to see everything. So maybe we can get it a little bit tighter in there. It's not much room, so just have to bear with me while we get this together. Get the hose clamp out of the way. Alright, that's on. Get the hose clamp on. There you go. Now we can get this plate on, the front plate on. Well, now you'll be able to see a little bit better on this side. Let's get the front plate on. We'll get the screw in to help kind of hold and get my fingers in there. I'd like to hear what kind of uses you guys, if you have these smaller ones, how you use it. I know they have the Hondas and those Predator generators people like to use because they're ultra quiet when they're camping and RVing. I don't think this is going to be as quiet as those, but the smallness and the portability is going to be, I think, useful in an area where you don't have power and you really don't need cordless tools are nice, but you can't always have cordless and everything. And plus it's so much expensive that all these old corded tools are so cheap and they're electric motors. So maybe somehow we can incorporate using this around the farm, having a little generator. It might not be efficient. I don't know what the efficiency is going from DC to AC, but if you're having little projects, you can carry this around. So maybe we'll test that out at the end of the video. But I'd love to have everything be battery powered, but that's just so expensive to get in there. And I have all these corded tools. And new corded tools are so cheap because everyone wants to go cordless. So maybe that's kind of the revolution, to go backwards and have a central power plant that you carry around with you. You don't have to worry about weight and portability. This might be a solution. We'll see how it goes. All right, we're back in. Let's get our little, oops. You know what we forgot? We forgot the choke. They're hiding back there. There you go. Can't forget that choke lever. Still works, that's good. Alright, so we got everything almost buttoned up. We just put the nuts on here. Before we finish all the final, like putting the tank on and all that, let's make sure the carb isn't leaking. So we'll turn the fuel on. And we'll just give it a second here. I don't know if you can see down inside there. There you go. There's the end of the hose. And we'll look at the bottom here, see if we're leaking anywhere. I don't see any leaking. Feel up underneath here. Turn it up a little bit. There you go. See the bottom of the carb there? We're looking good. Alright, let's button her up and we'll give her a test. But I was going to test the generator out after we got it put back together, but Irma has other plans for us. We got a tropical storm coming through today, so we might have to put this off till tomorrow. But we will definitely get it tested and see if we can get it running. Alright, we caught a break in the storm. It stopped raining, but it's still overcast, so give us time to give this a try and see if we can get this started now that we've cleaned the carb. The rain's picked up a little bit, so we had to reposition so the camera would stay dry. What I did is put a little bit of fuel down in the spark plug hole. The spark plug was a little loose, so maybe we didn't tighten it from before, so maybe that will help. fluctuating about 130, 129, so it's a little high. We probably adjust the carb a little bit to lower it down a little bit. You have any recommendations on good multimeters, digital multimeters that aren't too expensive? I'm up for upgrade. I know this is the Harbor Freight special. We got a 1/2-inch hammer drill. It's a 7.8 amps draw, so this should max out the total wattage of this, which is about 800 running watts. So let's give it a try. That's pretty good. It maxed out and didn't bog down or anything, so I'm impressed. Well, I'm impressed. We got our 7.8 amp drill to run that, and it maxed it. I think it's pretty close maxing out. I have to do the wattage calculation, but it's not too bad, and it didn't bog it down. It really was going at it, so I'm happy with that. The voltage, I'd have to check. It was at 136, which seemed a little high. Maybe we could tweak it a little bit, but the only way to get in there is I have to take the plastic cover off again. So maybe we'll work on that to tune it, to fine tune it. But I'm going to give it one more try to see if we can get this started. Since we're having trouble before without having to give it a little juice, maybe we can see if it kicks right off, because it's been running now for about 5-10 minutes. So let's give it a try. Yeah, I think the earlier issue was I didn't tighten down the spark plug, and it wasn't getting enough compression. So I'm glad it took off after one pull. We'll just have to try it when it's cold again to see how well it starts from cold. So let's move on to our unique idea of how I wanted to use this. In an earlier video, we posted a video on building this utility bed for our lawnmower, and the reason why we wanted to build this bed was for purposes like this. I wanted to be able to drive around the property to do work, but I needed some way to carry tools with me. And this, with the generator, is one of the perfect examples of what I want to do with it. Instead of having to buy all cordless tools to use around, or gas power tools, I have quite a few corded tools that I want to use around the property, but to get a power source I'm not anywhere near an outlet. So with the little generator I can strap it to the back of the utility bed and then use corded tools wherever I need to go. Right now we just got everything attached with bungee cords. We can always do something more permanent, but it works really well. Here's our hedge trimmer we're just going to use as a test subject for cutting some of these weeds back. Well, there you go. Get on the first pull. I'm pretty impressed. That's good. I think we've got everything sorted on this now. Well, I think our experiment seemed to be pretty successful. I'm happy with the size of it, the power it gives out, and the portability. So I think we'll use this in a lot more projects in the future. And thanks for joining us on this Can We Save It? And remember the ABCs of making. Always be creating. Till next time.